You have mentioned the First World War.
Yes.
And how it ends. So the question is that in the modern era, nowadays, is the only way to end the war, first of all ceasefire and after that a peace, or it can maintain such another version, like Cold War?
I mean, look, if you see the one of the closest history of the Cold War and the post-Cold War models that you can probably think of Ukraine is either of Austria or Germany. Austria was whole and intact, was not divided, but it was also neutral and not on any side. Germany was not whole; it was divided, but the western part of Germany was part of the West, the eastern part of Germany. I mean, at this point in time, I think the Austria model is gone. I think Ukraine has lost the power to recover all the places that they've lost to Russia. I don't think they're going to take them back. So there is no question of having an Austria model in the Cold War situation.
When did they lose this situation?
Like in the war.
In the war?
Yeah.
Okay.
So once the war started and once 1/5 of Ukraine was occupied by Russia, there is no question of getting those lands back, right? So at this point in time, there's
2014.
No, 2014 was just Crimea. Like 2024, 2022, when the war started, that is when the Ukrainians lost any opportunity of kind of like reverting back to the Austrian model. Before that, there was a possibility. At this point in time, there isn't a possibility of a neutrality of Ukraine. Ukraine would be divided. Ukraine would be either part of the West or East, right? So the western part of Ukraine would be, in some way or the other, part of the European Union. Probably not part of NATO at this point in time, but eventually in the future might be. So at this point in time, the fate of Ukraine looks like something that was, for example, a broken and divided Germany.
You know the Hungarian politics and situation very well, and the Hungarian geopolitical thinking, and we are here in Washington DC because of the Trump-Orbán meeting. What do you think about the Trump-Orbán meeting next day?
I think if Prime Minister Orbán can convince Prime Minister Trump to two things. One, that we cannot wish the war to be over more than the parties who are actually fighting the war. So at some point in time, we have to be in a situation where we are walking away. That is something which, if they both can talk about that for a while, I think that's interesting. The second thing is, I think they have to understand that before negotiation, there needs to be a ceasefire. If President Trump, as he says, wants the war to be over, and he wants the Nobel Peace Prize, the war to be over doesn't mean that there is a complete peace in that region forever. The war to be over means that the war is over. So for that simple, narrow logic, I think the only requirement at this stage is for termination of the conflict. The moment the conflict is terminated, the moment the two sides are not shooting at each other, that itself is a termination of the war. After that, what happens is a long-term process. Parties talk to each other. They understand, there are places from where Russia can go back. There are places from where Ukraine can go back. We can offer them trade and benefits for them to walk back from all the places that they have conquered. All of those negotiations and talks can happen after the ceasefire. The ceasefire should be the primary target. And I think Prime Minister Orbán and President Trump should talk more about how to initiate that ceasefire process.
And what can you say about the connection between Hungary and the United States from the side of the United States in the context?
I think well, the Hungarians were right about the war in Ukraine, as I mentioned in my last interview with you. I think that is something which they constantly they need to keep saying about that. Like, look, I mean, you tried your way for 4 years, nothing happened. Why don't you listen to what we said in 2022? The Russians are not going to conquer the entirety of Ukraine, not happening anytime soon. The Ukrainians are never taking back Crimea without starting a nuclear war. That is not happening. The Europeans are not, the proof is in the pudding. They are not planning to spend too much amount of money to sustain Ukraine without the United States. The United States doesn't want to do anything. Like, the Americans don't really care about Ukraine. They don't want to spend money on Ukraine. There's so much more problem at home to fix compared to something which is essentially a European backwater. So I think those are the kind of things that, people understand. So what is the solution? The solution is to have, to not continue something which has been going on for the last 4 years, but there is no, sense of urgency to end that. I think that is something that needs to change. And given that you are on the right side on that question, I think you guys should talk more about it.
you mentioned the United States has problem at home now. For example, the government shutdown.
I don't think the government shutdown is a problem. I don't really feel about anything about the government shutdown, but yeah, I mean, look, the U.S. has a lot more issues to look at compared to Ukraine. The rise of China, the AI competition that we are having with China, which the Chinese are frankly winning, by the way, so far. Migration, and all that kind of stuff. Economy. So I think there are a lot of things that we need to focus here at home compared to I don't know, Ukraine.
You said that China is a competitor to the United States in the context of AI. It's
not just AI, but yes.
Yes. First of all, in softwares and other things, or in hardwares like cars and companies and etc. etc.
Yeah.
So which one is the?
Well, I think those are not divided or bifurcated in a way. I think the key at this point is to have the advantage with the United States is one, the amount of money the US can spend on research is not comparable to either the European Union or China.
From the government side?
No, from every
companies?
side, even from companies. Like you talk about, there are 900 billionaires in the US. The top five, most important companies have got a total budget of a total annual GDP of over $2.3 trillion. The amount of money that they can spend on research and development will dwarf anything that European Union combined or even China can spend. That is an advantage. The problem though is it's difficult to explain to people. AI isn't in a stage which is similar to how the dot-com bubble was in the mid-90s. We know that things are happening, but we don't see the benefits from that yet. And that is a difficult situation to be, because you have to, at the end of the day, explain to the people why this is important for the future, right? So for example, when the internet was first coming in 92, 93, and that, when it was spreading at that, in those days, no one knew how beneficial they would be. So they were seeing the amount of money being spent on various different, websites. Half of them are not even there now. There used to be a social media called Orkut, even before Facebook or MySpace or anything of that sort. No one knows where it is now. It's gone because it was before its time. The money that was spent on those things, the people couldn't see the benefit of it. It didn't have public fusion so far. So I think we are in that stage of AI. Everyone knows that AI would benefit in the future. They would know that AI would benefit quantum computing in the future. When it comes to ticketing, when it comes to clerical jobs, when it comes to cars, self-driving robots, all of these things would be beneficial from AI. But we haven't seen that far because we haven't reached that stage yet. And given that we are in the middle of that situation, it's very difficult to explain to common people as to why we are spending so much money in research on that one. China doesn't have that problem. They don't have to explain to anyone. They don't have the population. They don't have the public passions to deal with. They don't have the hysteria of the masses. Those are the things that they don't really care about. I think that is just an American thing. So I think a democracy is a chaotic place compared to a communist country. So I think those are some of the issues that we have to deal with. But overall, on an advantage, if we really want to focus on AI, I don't think we're going to lose to China.
You just mentioned the dot-com era, and
yes,
it ended a collapse. The AI will also collapse, or?
I don't think the dot-com era ended in a collapse. I think the initial phase of the dot-com bubble was, like I said, was there. Look at what's in your hand. That phone. How many things can you do on that phone? And how many devices can you have? You have camera. You have diaries. You have financial transactions. You can buy tickets. You can take photos. Name it. You can call people.
I can record a conversation.
You can record a conversation. You take an interview. You can write a whole essay and all. The amount of stuff that you can do at the palm of your hand is almost infinite compared to the amount of stuff and the amount of different devices that you would have needed in the mid-90s. So clearly, we have progressed because of the investment on internet and the stuff that we were doing at that point in time. However, if you go back in time and you tell someone in 1995 that, hey, we should spend $10 trillion on this thing because in 25 years' time, it's going to be great, no one will be able to believe you, right? We are in that kind of situation with AI. The future, for those of us who research on that, is interesting. But for the normal people who don't really know much about what's going on in AI, they can't visualize what the future might look like, and that is a challenge.
Going back to the U.S. Chinese situation and U.S. Chinese debate about the future, I have a question about the Trump-Xi meeting, because we are after this meeting. Are they moving toward the two-polar world?
The G2. Well, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a G2. I think the world is multipolar compared to a bipolar world. I don't think the middle range powers like Turkey and Germany, or even like other great powers like Japan or India, I don't think they would be incentivized to go to a G2 world, where they are essentially on the Chinese sphere of influence. So I don't think it's going to be a G2. I think it's going to be a multipolar world, kind of similar to how 19th century was, for example.
Was this meeting successful in the context of the United States?
Remains to be seen. It's too early to say.
Okay, Dr. Maitra, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, and
one more question for your phone thingy or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And can we make this